Hey everyone, Dr. C here, and I am absolutely thrilled to welcome my college public speaking class to today's explainer. Look, if you've ever found yourself standing up at a podium, looking out at a sea of blank faces, and wondering how on earth to get them to nod along with your ideas, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're taking the kinda intimidating art of persuasion and breaking it down into a clear, strategic science. So, grab your notebooks, get focused, and let's learn how to build some truly unassailable arguments together.
Okay, here is our professor's playbook for today. 1. The pillars of persuasion. 2. Establishing your credibility. 3. Gathering strong evidence. 4. The art of reasoning. And finally, 5. Avoiding logical pitfalls.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the pillars of persuasion.
I want you to think about crafting a persuasive speech, kind of like building a house. You can't just toss a bunch of wood and nails into a pile and call it a mansion, right? A truly strong speech needs a rock-solid foundation, sturdy materials, and good mortar to hold it all together. We build that house using 4 core methods: building credibility, using evidence, reasoning, and appealing to emotions. Now, appealing to your audience's emotions is incredibly powerful, and we're definitely going to dive into that in a future session. But today is all about the logic. We're zeroing in on constructing a rational, unshakable argument using those first 3 methods.
Moving right along to section 2, establishing your credibility, which is all about building trust.
So, before anyone will actually listen to what you have to say, they have to trust you. Literally, this is the bedrock foundation of your entire persuasive house. The ancient Greeks had a specific word for this: ethos. Coined by Aristotle, ethos is your credibility. It's really driven by 2 main things in the minds of your audience: your competence and your character. Competence basically means they believe you actually know what you're talking about. Character means they believe you're honest and have their best interests at heart. If you're missing either one of those, your foundation is totally compromised.
And here's the thing, credibility isn't just some static badge you pin to your shirt. It's a dynamic, living timeline. It kicks off with initial credibility. That's what the audience thinks of you before you even open your mouth. Then comes derived credibility, which is everything you project during your speech. And finally, you leave them with terminal credibility at the very end. The ultimate goal here? You want to make absolutely sure your terminal credibility is higher than your initial credibility. Okay, so how do we actually go about building that credibility timeline? First off, just explain your competence. Don't be arrogant, but casually tell them why you researched this topic or what personal experience you bring to the table. Second, establish common ground. Connect your values to theirs so they feel like you're on the exact same team. And third, speak expressively and with absolute conviction. Look, if you don't sound like you believe what you're saying, your audience definitely won't either. All right, that brings us to section 3, gathering strong evidence, or using logos. So, your foundation of character and competence is poured. Now, it's time to bring in the bricks. In the world of persuasion, evidence is your building material. This is what Aristotle called logos, logical appeals. Evidence is basically the supporting material you use to prove or disprove something. Without it, you aren't making an argument at all. You're just stating an opinion. And trust me, unsupported claims will always fall flat against a critical crowd. You need cold, hard facts, statistics, and expert testimony to build those walls up.
But let's pause for just a second here. I really want you to think about this: what actually makes for good, strong evidence? Because, not all facts are created equal. You can't just grab the very first stat you see on a quick Google search and expect it to carry the weight of your entire speech.
Strong evidence matters because your audience is packed with careful, highly skeptical listeners. They're sitting there silently challenging you. Solid evidence is absolutely crucial, especially when you, the speaker, aren't some globally recognized expert on the topic. And it becomes your ultimate lifeline when the audience actively disagrees with your premise. You have to win them over, brick by verifiable brick.
Consider this your ultimate cheat sheet for handling evidence. First, be specific. Instead of saying lots of people, say 73%. Huge difference. Second, use novel evidence. Audiences totally tune out facts they've heard a million times. Surprise them with something brand new. Third, only rely on highly credible sources. And finally, please don't just drop a fact and walk away. Make a clear, unmistakable point with every piece of evidence you present. Tell the audience exactly what that fact means for your overall argument. Next up, section 4, the art of reasoning, drawing those conclusions.
Okay, so you've got a great foundation and you have piles of strong, high-quality bricks. But without mortar, those bricks are just going to topple over. Reasoning is your mortar. It's the process of drawing logical conclusions based on your evidence. It's like a scale balancing right there in your mind. As public speakers, we really have a dual concern here. Not only does our reasoning need to be inherently sound and logical, but we also have to deliver it in a way that gets our listeners to actually agree with it. Simply being right isn't enough. You have to be persuasive.
Now, we have a few different ways to mix this mortar. Let's look at the two big ones. First is reasoning from specific instances. This is inductive logic. You take particular facts and use them to build up to a general conclusion. On the flip side, we have reasoning from principle, or deductive logic. This is where you start with a massive, generally accepted principle and then narrow it all the way down to a specific conclusion.
Let's look at a quick example of reasoning from specific instances. My PE course last term was easy. My roommate's PE course was easy. My brother's PE course was easy. Therefore, PE courses are easy. Now, sure, this makes logical sense on the surface, but you gotta be super careful here. As college students, you guys know 3 easy classes absolutely do not guarantee the rest will be a walk in the park. You must avoid hasty generalizations when using this method. Always qualify your arguments and back them up with real stats.
Now, let's pivot to reasoning from principle and look at this historical mic drop of a syllogism. Major premise, all people are mortal. Minor premise, Socrates is a person. Conclusion, therefore, Socrates is mortal. I mean, that is just bulletproof. The trick with this one is that your audience absolutely must accept your major premise. If they agree that all people are mortal, and you can easily prove Socrates is a person, they literally have no choice logically but to agree with your conclusion.
Now, besides those two, we've also got causal reasoning, which is essentially establishing a clear relationship between causes and effects. Just make sure the cause you identify actually created the effect. And finally, analogical reasoning, where we compare 2 similar cases. Like arguing that if you're highly skilled at tennis, your hand-eye coordination means you'll probably be pretty good at ping pong. Analogies are just fantastic visual tools to help an audience cross that bridge of understanding.
Which brings us to our final part today, Section 5, Avoiding Logical Pitfalls and Fallacies.
So, we've built the house, but what happens if the mortar was mixed wrong? These pitfalls are dangerous traps that will instantly destroy the credibility you work so hard to build. And a sharp audience, they will spot these cracks in the mortar from a mile away. So, beware of the false cause. Just because one event happens after another doesn't mean the first caused the second. Avoid invalid analogies where the 2 things being compared aren't actually alike. Don't jump on the bandwagon claiming something is right just because everyone else is doing it. Never use a red herring to introduce irrelevant information just to distract from the real issue. And as we just talked about, never jump to conclusions based on completely insufficient evidence.
All right, I'm going to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on before your next assignment. As you start drafting your upcoming speeches, I want you to ask yourself, are your arguments genuinely built on a rock-solid foundation of ethos and logos? Are you using sturdy evidence and sound reasoning? Or are you secretly just hoping the audience won't notice the cracks in your logic? Review your work, reinforce that foundation, and step up to that mic with unshakable confidence. Class dismissed, and honestly, I cannot wait to hear your speeches.